Welcome to No Broken Legs. I am your host, Evan Belfiore. Joining me on the phone on a pretty great Thursday afternoon is Jimmy Champ. Jimmy, how are you today?
Man, as it gets closer and closer to Monday, I'm getting more and more nervous for this football game. But I'm excited to talk about it, brother.
Yeah, and joining us to talk about this upcoming game between Cleveland and Pittsburgh is my good friend Vince from Karma Internet Radio and Vinnie's MidDay Triple Espresso. Vince, how are you today? Thanks for joining us.
Oh, it's awesome. It's another beautiful day in Southwest Kent, Ohio.
Yeah, it does look like it looks like exactly what it should look like in Southwest Kent, Ohio. I'll agree.
Doesn't it?
It
Absolutely.
really does.
I mean, it's perfect.
It's perfect.
You know, and I want to contend here as well that we had a perfect Christmas for a Browns fan. We had rain, no snow, a Browns loss, and probably good friends and family all around. So
Yeah.
it's normal, right?
Yeah.
Well, we're used to seeing the Browns lose football games, particularly to the Pittsburgh Steelers. But as we come into this game, there hasn't been an update on the injury status of most players, with the game being Monday night. That will come out later today, so we'll have to monitor that leading into any bets you want to make. But it looks like Cleveland's going to get most of their COVID people back. Jimmy, what are you feeling about the state of the Browns coming into this game?
Whew. I was probably unrealistically optimistic when we recorded earlier in the week, and the more and more I think about it, the more and more concerned I am about this football game. But if Myles Garrett's groin holds up and we get some of those D linemen back, I'm excited to see what the defense does against the Steelers offense. It's ready to be put down for the season. The defense is playing at a championship caliber level. You know, you can't hold Aaron Rodgers to 3 touchdowns and then get beat by Pittsburgh the next week in a high scoring affair. You know, if you lose like you did last time, then that's on the offense. But right now the defense has to continue to carry the team, and they look like they're built to do it. They got a lot of pieces coming back. So I'm just hoping the defense can hold up for one or, maybe 5 or 6 more quarters while the offense truly gets going. We stop going away from the run game. We keep running the ball. Baker continues to look a little better, and they figure out a way to get this win Monday night, man.
And Vince, I'll give you the same question. How are you feeling about the Browns coming into this game? They got to get a win here to keep any hope of the playoffs alive, but also to keep their chances at a winning season alive.
I don't feel good at all. There's no reason for me to feel good. As a Browns fan from the past, living in a environment of the factory of sadness, I have no reason to be positive about this game. And the way that Pittsburgh has destroyed us over the last however long you want to go back to when Terry Bradshaw was still throwing the ball around and Turkey Jones was jamming his head into the frickin' pavement. It's not been a good thing for the Browns to play the Pittsburgh Steelers. And when the Browns have been up against must-win games this year, I'll ask you, have they done well?
No, they've looked pretty bad.
So
they found ways to lose close matchups they should have won.
I'm left with history as my reference point.
Yeah,
and so both past history and current. So I don't feel good about it at all, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, so that leads us to the next. Really, this will be Ben Roethlisberger's last game in Pittsburgh. Everybody seems to think that he's going to retire, and that's something that worries me, Jimmy, because when there's been a big emotional impact in the game, the Browns haven't been able to meet the other team's effort and their drive. Do the Browns rise to the level in this game? Do you think they can do it?
Yeah.
Do you think Stefanski can get them up to not let another Pittsburgh game slip through their fingers?
Okay, so I'm gonna really dig deep and really feel this out, right? So, we felt last year beating Pittsburgh and then beating Pittsburgh in the playoffs was, kind of moving towards getting rid of some of what has held this organization back for much of our adult lives, Evan. And, people have been talking for a while this week. There have been a lot of Browns fans that have been like, man, we're going to play Roethlisberger in his last game at Heinz Field, and then the problem is we've got Joe Burrow to deal with for the next decade. But here's the thing. Joe Burrow has already lost more games in his career than Ben Roethlisberger ever did to the Cleveland Browns. And that's, like, mind-boggling. But as I said earlier this week, it's silly. Like, it's nuts to think about it. But I've tried to stay positive all year because we knew it wasn't going to be as easy as we wanted it to be. There have been injuries. Players have underperformed. Some things have just gone as bad breaks. But you still have this whole season in front of you. Right now, your defense is playing like a top 5 defense in the NFL. Even if some Browns fans aren't happy with the way Joe Woods is getting it done, he is getting it done. The Pittsburgh Steelers, the last 2 weeks, actually the last 3 weeks, if you take 2 fourth quarters out of the equation, they've looked like a bottom 5 team in the NFL. They had 2 great fourth quarters. Last week, they looked like they had no interest in playing a football game. Now, they are going to be up to play in Ben Roethlisberger's last game in Heinz Field. Ben Roethlisberger is going to be up to play in this game. But I don't know if the body can really match what the mind is going to want to do. I believe to a point Kevin Stefanski and definitely Baker Mayfield care about narrative. Guys, tune in this week. Listen to me. If there is ever a time, if you want to shut up all the critics, you want to stop all the hate mail, all the death threats, you want to get national media off your back, go into Pittsburgh, run the ball down their throat, throw a couple play-action touchdowns, win this game 24-10, put Ben Roethlisberger to sleep, put the Steelers away for the year, Kansas City will do their part, and beat Cincinnati next week and win the damn division. Right? It's all still in front of you. With everything that's gone wrong this year, it's all still in front of you. Win 2 games, you get help that's going to happen, win the division. It would be their first AFC North crown, and it's right there to get done. Like, Baker just cannot make those 4 bad plays he made last week. Kevin Stefanski needs to just keep running the ball. If Nick Chubb needs a spell, that's fine. Give it to Dearness Johnson. Keep running the ball. Your offensive line is mostly healthy. Your tight ends are mostly healthy. Use your key pieces. The defense does their job. The offense does their job, and you win this game. And Ben Roethlisberger, 3 out of his last 4 games against Cleveland will be lost. Well, I guess 2 out of his last 4 games because he didn't play the 1 game. Will be losses, and it will be a great start, a continuation of the Kevin Stefanski-led Browns era of football.
Well, you mentioned the name that gives everybody pause, and that's Baker Mayfield. What are you expecting in this game, Vince, out of Baker Mayfield? Do you think he responds? Pittsburgh is going to bring the blitz. They're going to bring pressure at him. They're going to force him to make good decisions. How concerned are you about Baker in those situations?
Well, I'm always concerned with Baker when it comes to how he's performed recently. And I want to go back to something that Jimmy talked about in the last podcast. And he was talking about the difference. You guys were talking about Stefanski, and you had your initial rant about him. And, Jimmy noted that the comparison to Kirk Cousins in that offense, and that the wide receivers were running free down the field for Kirk Cousins to throw to. Do you remember that, Jimmy, talking about that a little bit?
I do.
Yeah, they also had Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs, who are better than, no offense to Jarvis Landry, but he's even at his best, he's not as good as either of those guys, I think.
Exactly. So that hasn't changed this week from last week, and that hasn't changed at all. It was nice to see Schwartz show up for a change, a high draft pick with all those expectations, and do something last week, but he's clearly not in the high echelon of wide receivers in the NFL, and none of the Browns receivers are. That's their key need in the offseason if they want to make Baker Mayfield be Baker Mayfield. Donovan Peoples-Jones is a nice receiver, and he can do some special teams things and when needed, but he doesn't excel on a regular basis. He has some great catches periodically. And as long as the Browns don't have receivers for Baker Mayfield to throw to, he's going to keep throwing interceptions and making the fans lose their effing minds. And it's going to continue to be difficult for the Haslams and Mr. DePodesta and Mr. Barry to hold off the frickin' people with the pitchforks at the frickin' gate to get rid of this dude if he doesn't start doing something. But Look, the reality is we're as Browns fans victims of our quarterbacks and our head coaches. And for some reason, Kevin Stefanski has decided to either be abducted by an alien and there's a new body inside of him moving the plays around,
the
or
ghost
something.
of Freddie Kitchens.
Or he's got we need to get the exorcist going on over there, maybe do some priest work. But he's not been the coach he was last year.
No, he really hasn't.
He's just average.
And I guess we'll follow up a little bit on what we talked about in the last podcast. We looked at the list of quarterbacks that were available if the Browns want to move past Baker Mayfield. Did you really see anybody that we talked about that really perked your interest besides, like Rodgers and Wilson, who we don't think are coming here? And I don't think the Browns could put together a big enough package to get Watson, even if they wanted to, according to recent reports. But how do you feel about Baker Mayfield and the possible replacements out there?
I didn't like any of your replacements. You guys went through a very detailed a synopsis, if you will, of all the options out there without going into exact numbers.
It's a pretty shitty list.
It is. And, even the last two that you talked about, Carr and Ryan, I mean, if those are your best two options, man, that are maybe even kind of possible, which they're not, I mean, I don't think. Again, you talked about Atlanta having to take that $40 million cap hit. They're not going to do that. Nobody's going to do that during COVID, or unless somebody's going to pay some of that off for them. Like with what the Indians do all the time, taking in freaking bad contracts and paying some of it or whatever to try to get a halfway decent player in. I don't know. That's possible. Do you want Carr? As you said, he throws the game-losing interception, and by God, the Browns find a way to give him the ball back to throw a touchdown.
Because, of course, they do.
So I don't, I like Carr. I think, but correct me if I'm wrong, we had the opportunity to draft that dude, didn't we?
I mean, I'm sure they did. I don't remember exactly where Carr was taken in the draft.
And I seem to remember we took some other joker before him that didn't freaking work out, whose name I can't remember right now because there's been so many freaking jokers that haven't worked out for this team. I don't like any of the quarterback options. My thought is that Baker Mayfield is your quarterback for the next 2 years. And what you need to do is you need to get busy looking for replacements in the college and, I don't know, go overseas. Find somebody throwing a ball around in the freaking Swaziland. I don't care. But you're going to have to find somebody. And here's the other reason why. Baker Mayfield hasn't shown you that he has the physical abilities to last a long, long time. And this year is a perfect indication of what's going on here. He's taken a beating, as many Browns quarterbacks have, and it's taken its freaking toll on him.
I mean,
so you
it
need
has,
to start thinking about who's going to replace him sometime, is my point. You need to draft somebody.
He's still on the field. He's not Kyler Murray. He's not Lamar Alexander. Those guys have missed a lot of games. That's a fair point, especially earlier in the season when he had when he first had the shoulder injury, and then they revealed that he had the fracture in there as well. He probably should have sat out a couple of games. Yeah, that's a good point. And that hurt him a lot. Just to follow up on what you said about Derek Carr, he was drafted in 36th overall in 2014. So the Browns did have a chance to take him that year, I think.
I mean, you guys know who we took to play quarterback that year, right?
I have no idea.
I don't remember.
Before Teddy Bridgewater and Derek Carr were drafted, we drafted Justin Gilbert and Johnny Manziel.
Oh, man. That was that draft. That's why I can't remember it, because I've just blocked that horrendous draft. Like, how do you take two players in the first round that aren't NFL players? Like, that blows my mind. But that's a story for another day. Let's get back to this game on Monday night in Pittsburgh. The Browns are 3.5-point favorites. The over-under sits at 41. Vince, who wins? Who are you taking in this game?
You said what was the spread? 3.5?
3.5.
And so the Pittsburgh's giving Cleveland 3.5.
Yeah, and that's moved a half point towards the Browns in the last 24 hours.
And how is that over/under moved?
Over/under hasn't changed. It's still at 41. It's been there the last 2 days.
All right. I have to believe that the Browns are going to have to show up for this game. And I'm going to take the Browns on this one. I don't know why. I just feel that they're going to have a lot of momentum. I still think, as I went into the season, that Pittsburgh is a team that is in a rebuild mode, even if, Pittsburgh really doesn't rebuild. But they do have to have like a small, dip a little bit every once in a while, and I truly believe that's where we're at. Obviously, Roethlisberger is going to be moving on to greener pastures. I remember watching that guy play for the Miami Redhawks in a game against the Kent State Golden Flashes at Dick's Stadium when they had to they had to halt the game because the winds were so were high that it was dangerous, and they held the game for a while, and they finally finished it. And it's going to be nice not to see Roethlisberger destroy either the Flashes or the Pittsburgh or the Browns for a change. So I'm going to take the Browns on this, and I'm going to take the under.
Jimmy, what say you?
Give me the Browns and the over. Unfortunately, I think Baker Mayfield is going to be forced to outduel Ben Roethlisberger in Heinz Field for Ben Roethlisberger's last home game. And by God, he's gonna American dream him. He's gonna reverse the figure four. He's gonna find a way to get it done, and they're gonna win this football game.
I'm taking the Steelers with the points. I do like the Browns to win, and I think this is going to be a higher scoring game than people think. I think one of these teams gets to the mid to high 20s and the other one gets into the high teens. So I'll take the over, Cleveland to win, and Pittsburgh to cover the point spread. The biggest game for the Browns that isn't the Pittsburgh-Cleveland game is Kansas City traveling to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals. For the Browns to have any hope to win the AFC North, Kansas City has to win this game. They are 5-point road favorites. The over-under sits at 51. Jimmy, who do you like in this game? Do the Browns get the win from Kansas City they need?
I mean, you really gonna sit there and ask me this question? You know how I feel about the Cincinnati Bengals. The Kansas City Chiefs are gonna steal their Soul Shang Tsung style in this football game. The Bengals have not competed with or beat a good team that's healthy all year. The Chiefs are both good and healthy. They're going to smack the shit out of the Bengals in this football game.
Vince, are you as confident in a Kansas City win as Jimmy is?
Unfortunately. And then I think, correct me if I'm wrong, that if the Browns run the table here, it doesn't matter if Kansas City beats Cincinnati next week or no, that doesn't matter. They need to run the table, and Kansas City needs to beat Cincinnati, right?
Yes.
Yep.
All right. Well, even though probably the way the fate works in this world, it's probably not going to happen. But yeah, I'm taking it's illogical to believe that Kansas City is not going to beat the Cincinnati Bengals. I don't care what kind of momentum Cincinnati has right now. You're coming off of a team, literally, obviously, that are Super Bowl caliber, and then you have a team that's on the rebuild. It has a lot of promise to it, but it still has holes. So I'm taking Kansas City. Although let's not kid ourselves, Pat Mahomes is apt for a freaking dud here and there. So this could be that one.
He's had some bad moments. He's been really good lately. And just a note on this: Cincinnati struggles against tight ends, and Kansas City has one of the best tight ends. So I'm going to make it a trifecta. I really like Kansas City here. I love the over in this game because I think Kansas City. Even somebody's going to jump on somebody early, and the other one's going to have to play catch up, and it's just a matter of who jumps on who first. But I like Kansas City.
I take the over too. Yep, I agree with you on the over too.
Yep.
Another game that would be helpful for the Browns is the LA Rams traveling to Baltimore to take on the beat-up Ravens. The Rams are 3.5-point favorites. The over/under sits at 46.5. Quarterback note for the Ravens: Lamar Jackson was at practice yesterday. He's been out with an ankle injury. He had quite a noticeable limp from what has been reported. Baltimore's pass defense has been beat up and bad all year, and LA loves to throw all over the place. So I really like the Rams in this spot. Vince, who do you like in this game?
I'm apt to taking the Ravens on this because I think Harbaugh is one of those kinds of coaches that does find a way to rally his troops, unlike what we've seen Kevin Stefanski not being able to do yet. Now, I'm hoping that Kevin Stefanski can learn that as time progresses here, but he's not exactly been the rah-rah, get your team around some type of a concept or thing kind of guy, from what I can tell.
He's more of a cool, collected, even-keeled type of guy.
So this is a Harbaugh, and what's the spread again on that?
3.5.
Now, I'm especially if Lamar Jackson plays, he's got something to prove. He's pissed. He's been hurt. And I tell you what, if that second stringer Huntley's going to be relieving him if he's not on COVID, that kid, he's damn good, man. I didn't see anything wrong with that dude when he played.
Yeah, that's a good point about Huntley. He has looked good when he's played.
You know, how come we can't have somebody like that? We got freaking Case Keenum, man. You know, what the hell?
Jimmy, I know you're going to like the Rams in this spot. You've liked them all year.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And Vince, most of the time I would agree with everything you said about Harbaugh. But, you know, there's that old saying, sometimes it's more about the Jimmies and the Joes than the X's and the O's.
Sure.
The Ravens don't have any Jimmies and Joes left. Like, there's nobody for him to rally up in this game. The Rams, I'll probably tease this game up somewhere around 10.5 because I think the Rams will win this game by 2 touchdowns. The Ravens are ready to be done with this year. They don't have the pieces. They're just not healthy enough. I think they're going to come back with a damn vengeance next year. But I think they're ready to be done with this year. And the Rams need this game. The Rams got to keep pace. They still have a chance to win the NFC West. I'm not sure if the number 1 seed is grabbable for them or not, but they do have to keep winning games. So I think the Rams will take care of business pretty easily.
Any worries about Matthew Stafford, Jimmy? I'm just going to ask this every week.
Absolutely not.
Even after as bad as he was last week?
Just because he passes up wide open wide receivers to throw the hardest ball imaginable? No worries. Not at all.
See, that's my concern with that dude. He's the kind of guy that you don't expect him to do well, and he does. And when you do expect him to do well, he doesn't. And I like him.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I liked him when he was at I have family in Toledo, and, you know, all the frickin' Toledoites are all frickin' traitors for Michigan, right?
Yeah.
You know, whether it's the frickin' Wolverines or whoever's nasty frickin' thing is up there, they're going to root for him in Toledo. And so I had to deal with Detroit fans, like, constantly, man. So I ended up having to watch him periodically. And he, you know, obviously you've seen the numbers, you've seen him play. The dude can frickin' rock it, man, but he just disappears, you know, and it's weird.
Yeah,
man.
he makes some bad decisions from time to time.
He does.
Speaking of quarterbacks who make bad decisions, the Tennessee Titans with Ryan Tannehill are hosting the Miami Dolphins with Tua Tagovailoa. The Tennessee Titans are 3.5-point favorites. The over-under sits at 40. This is the game tonight. Vince, who you got?
Oh, I'm taking Miami in that over, baby. Oh my God, that's. Oh, I got a little chill when you talked about those numbers there, man. I hope that I'm not just like weird or something, but. Look, Tua's been doing pretty well over the last, I think, 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah, as long as it's within 10 yards.
Momentum. What? Say that again.
As long as he's only throwing within 10 yards.
Okay, that's fair. But if it works, do it. You know, and I think I definitely take Miami on this one. I think they got the momentum right now, and the over. I mean, I just think there's going to be a bunch of points scored in that one.
Yeah, both of these teams have been winning a lot lately, Jimmy, despite what we think are their limitations. Who do you like here?
Oh, dude, I'm all about the Dolphins. Give me the plus 3.5 and the plus 155 money line. I absolutely love that. Vince may be onto something with the over as well. I've watched the Titans they still look good sometimes without Derrick Henry, and then sometimes they still think Ryan Tannehill could just be the leader of the team, which he can't. Just what happened to him when they lost the game to Pittsburgh. They thought, I will put it in Tannehill's hands, and he made mistake after mistake. Miami's defense is as good, if not better, than the Steelers' defense. I think they will confuse and frustrate Tannehill, and the Dolphins are probably going to end up making the damn playoffs.
Yeah. I know, it's absolutely crazy.
Is that crazy?
I didn't think they would make the playoffs. I went back and looked at some of my over-unders, and I actually did pick Miami to be over 9.5, but I didn't think... I don't know why I thought that, because Miami has looked like what I thought with Tua not being very good. They've just won a lot of the games, even with Tua not really doing anything. So we saw that with New England as well. I like Miami here as well. I just don't know what to make of Tennessee. They're so up and down. I don't trust Ryan Tannehill. And I think Brian Flores has built something in Miami where they tend to keep these types of games close. They don't embarrass themselves, and they just tend to play good football. So I'll take the points with Miami. Up next, we have the Indianapolis Colts are hosting the Las Vegas Raiders. Carson Wentz is out with COVID, but dadgum keeps rolling for him. The Colts are 6.5-point favorites. The over-under sits at 44.5. Jimmy, is this a game where Derek Carr can maybe lead his team to the playoffs, or do you like dadgum to just keep on rolling?
I have no idea. I don't know. I'm pretty sure my percentage of picking games for these two teams is about 0 this year. I think I'm going to take the Raiders at 6.5 because I think it'll stay close regardless. The Raiders did okay at times with the Browns run game. I don't know if they can contain Jonathan Taylor. He's on one hell of a roll. But when you can pretty much run blitz every play because somehow they're going to have a quarterback who's worse than Carson Wentz, if you can believe that or not. I kind of like the Raiders money line of plus 240 as well because it feels like if this game is close, I think it'll lean towards Las Vegas because somehow they've been able to win a lot of close games this year. But so probably do exactly the opposite of everything I just said, probably because I've been so wrong about both of these teams. I mean, I'll lose my, when we picked over-unders at the start of the year, I bet both of these teams to be under, and they're both going to go over. So that's kind of frustrating.
Yeah, I've been the same way with these teams. So Vince, we need you to be the objective third party here. What do you think happens in this game?
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Did I read something here this morning in the last 24 hours or so that they called Phillip Rivers to see if he was available?
Yeah.
Yes, they are trying. They are still right now. They are actively trying to get Phillip Rivers to suit up for this football game.
Yeah,
now,
there was an article
an
about Luck not being able to come back because he was retired. I don't know how that works with Phillip Rivers, but they're desperate to find somebody to play QB.
And that's the thing. Normally, that would be an indicator for you to run like hell from that team as far as thinking they're going to win, right? But when you have that running back who's been doing the stuff that he's been doing over there, you really can't ignore that. Now, it becomes whether or not the Raiders are going to be able to stop that. And they found a way to stop the Browns' running attack, kinda, as Jimmy mentioned there. But I think the momentum factor again here goes in the favor of the Raiders. They think they can do it, and I think there's so many obstacles in front of the Colts right there. This is a tough call, and I think Jimmy indicated that he's had a bad pick on these teams, and it makes sense because they're freaking like psycho, right? Who knows what they're going to do? So I'm guessing probably I'm going to take the Raiders on this just for shits and grins, and I'm going to take the over.
I like the Raiders here. I think they're going to be able to run enough to keep it close. And I just, as you said, Jimmy, they're desperate for a quarterback. They're not going to be able to throw the ball, which means Vegas is going to be able to crowd the line. I think that's going to keep it close. This feels like a field goal game. Up next, we have two teams that, much like the previous two, I have not been able to really pick all year. The LA Chargers are hosting the Denver Broncos. The Chargers are 6.5-point favorites. The over-under sits at 46. I've never been able to figure any of these guys out. The Chargers lose last week to Houston, which seems just ridiculous. I'll take the Chargers to bounce back here because I will always bet against Drew Lock. Vince, who do you like in this one?
I think you covered it right there because and the reason why, because of Drew Lock. And I got family out in Denver, and I got one of them who loves Drew Lock and some other ones that don't. And I have a feeling that they're trying to force feed him into this to try to make it work. They don't have a choice.
Well, I think they're seeing if they have anything in him, or he can maybe show something to pick up a late round draft pick in a trade before they go pursue Aaron Rodgers. Maybe
that's fair. That's a fair way to put it. I say force feed, and you make it more eloquent. I agree, and I think the fact is that that's not a good sign either. And they're apt to screwing things up this year. The Broncos are as psycho, as you mentioned, as some of these other teams, including the Browns. And I just think that the firepower that the Chargers have, very rarely does Herbert or Bear, however you want to call him, is he going to be doing things like he did last week, week after week after week. So I think they're going to have a bounce back. I'm taking the over and the Chargers.
Jimmy, who do you like in this game?
Well, this week's installment of Lucky for You, Baker Mayfield played like shit award goes to Justin Herbert, who played like shit against the Houston Texans. He is supposed to be one of the next elite quarterbacks in the NFL, but I've been told elite quarterbacks in the NFL don't play bad games. This guy played like shit against the Houston Texans. I think Denver is considerably better than Houston in all phases. Give me the Broncos and the Broncos money line. Here come the Denver Broncos. There goes the LA Chargers.
Wow. The Denver Broncos, that would have both teams tied at 8-8. And that just race for the 7th spot in the AFC is just looks like it's crazy. I think the Chargers get a win here. Like I said, I think they're better than Denver and any team that Drew Lock has. The next matchup we have is the Buffalo Bills are hosting the Atlanta Falcons. This is a 14.5 point spread for the Bills. The over-under is 44. Jimmy, can Buffalo get enough? Can Buffalo do enough to win this by more than 2 touchdowns? Speaking of quarterbacks who make bad decisions, the Tennessee Titans with Ryan Tannehill are hosting the Miami Dolphins with Tua Tagovailoa. The Tennessee Titans are 3.5 point favorites. The over-under sits at 40. This is the game tonight. Vince, who you got?
Oh, I'm taking Miami in that over, baby. Oh my God, that's. Oh, I got a little chill when you talked about those numbers there, man. I hope that I'm not just like weird or something, but look, Tua's been doing pretty well over the last, I think, 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah, as long as it's within 10 yards.
Momentum. What? Say that again.
As long as he's only throwing within 10 yards.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. But if it works, do it. And I think I definitely take Miami on this one. I think they got the momentum right now, and the over. I just think there's going to be a bunch of points scored in that one.
Yeah, both of these teams have been winning a lot lately, Jimmy, despite what we think are their limitations. Who do you like? Who do you like here?
Oh, dude, I'm all about the Dolphins. Give me the plus 3.5 and the plus 155 money line. I absolutely love that. Vince may be onto something with the over as well. I've watched the Titans they still look good sometimes without Derrick Henry, and then sometimes they still think Ryan Tannehill can just be the leader of the team, which he can't. Just what happened to him when they lost the game to Pittsburgh. They thought, I will put it in Tannehill's hands, and he made mistake after mistake. Miami's defense is as good, if not better, than the Steelers' defense. I think they will confuse and frustrate Tannehill, and the Dolphins are probably going to end up making the damn playoffs.
I know, it's absolutely crazy.
Is that crazy?
I didn't think they would make the playoffs. I went back and looked at some of my over-unders, and I actually did pick Miami to be over 9.5, but I didn't think... I don't know why I thought that, because Miami has looked like what I thought with Tua not being very good. They've just won a lot of the games, even with Tua not really doing anything. So we saw that with New England as well. I like Miami here as well. I just don't know what to make of Tennessee. They're so up and down. I don't trust Ryan Tannehill. And I think Brian Flores has built something in Miami where they tend to keep these types of games close. They don't embarrass themselves, and they just tend to play good football. So I'll take the points with Miami. Up next, we have the Indianapolis Colts are hosting the Las Vegas Raiders. Carson Wentz is out with COVID, but dadgum keeps rolling for him. The Colts are 6.5 point favorites. The over-under sits at 44.5. Jimmy, is this a game where Derek Carr can maybe lead his team to the playoffs, or do you like dadgum to just keep on rolling?
I have no idea. I don't know. I'm pretty sure my percentage of picking games for these two teams is about 0 this year. I think I'm going to take the Raiders at 6.5 because I think it'll stay close regardless. The Raiders did okay at times with the Browns run game. I don't know if they can contain Jonathan Taylor. He's on is on one hell of a roll. But when you can pretty much run blitz every play because somehow they're going to have a quarterback who's worse than Carson Wentz, if you can believe that or not. I kind of like the Raiders money line of plus 240 as well because it feels like if this game is close, I think it'll lean towards Las Vegas because somehow they've been able to win a lot of close games this year. But so probably do exactly the opposite of everything I just said. probably, because I've been so wrong about both of these teams. I mean, I'll lose my, when we picked over-unders at the start of the year, I bet both of these teams to be under, and they're both going to go over. So that's kind of frustrating.
Yeah, I've been the same way with these teams. So Vince, we need you to be the objective third party here. What do you think happens in this game?
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Did I read something here this morning in the last 24 hours or so that they called Phillip Rivers to see if he was available?
Yeah.
Yes, they are trying. They are still right now. They are actively trying to get Phillip Rivers to suit up for this football game.
Yeah,
now,
normally there was an article about
indication.
Luck not being able to come back because he was retired. I don't know how that works with Phillip Rivers, but they're desperate to find somebody to play QB.
And that's the thing. Normally, that would be an indicator for you to run like hell from that team as far as thinking they're going to win, right? But when you have that running back who's been doing the stuff that he's been doing over there, you really can't ignore that. Now, it becomes whether or not the Raiders are going to be able to stop that. And they found a way to stop the Browns' running attack, kinda, as Jimmy mentioned there. But I think the momentum factor again here goes in the favor of the Raiders. They think they can do it, and I think there's so many obstacles in front of the Colts right there. This is a tough call, and I think Jimmy indicated that he's had a bad pick on these teams, and it makes sense because they're freaking like psycho, right? Who knows what they're going to do? So I'm guessing probably I'm going to take the Raiders on this just for shits and grins, and I'm going to take the over.
I like the Raiders here. I think they're going to be able to run enough to keep it close. And I just, as you said, Jimmy, they're desperate for a quarterback. They're not going to be able to throw the ball, which means Vegas is going to be able to crowd the line. I think that's going to keep it close. This feels like a field goal game. Up next, we have two teams that, much like the previous two, I have not been able to really pick all year. The LA Chargers are hosting the Denver Broncos. The Chargers are 6.5-point favorites. The over-under sits at 46. I've never been able to figure any of these guys out. The Chargers lose last week to Houston, which seems just ridiculous. I'll take the Chargers to bounce back here because I will always bet against Drew Lock. Vince, who do you like in this one?
I think you covered it right there because and the reason why, because of Drew Lock. And I got family out in Denver, and I got one of them who loves Drew Lock and some other ones that don't. And I have a feeling that they're trying to force feed him into this to try to make it work. They don't have a choice.
Well, I think they're seeing if they have anything in him, or he can maybe show something to pick up a late round draft pick in a trade before they go pursue Aaron Rodgers. Maybe
that's fair. That's a fair way to put it. I say force feed, and you make it more eloquent. I agree, and I think the fact is that that's not a good sign either. And they're apt to screwing things up this year. The Broncos are as psycho, as you mentioned, as some of these other teams, including the Browns. And I just think that the firepower that the Chargers have, very rarely does Herbert or Bear, however you want to call him, is he going to be doing things like he did last week, week after week after week. So I think they're going to have a bounce back. I'm taking the over and the Chargers.
Jimmy, who do you like in this game?
Well, this week's installment of Lucky for You, Baker Mayfield played like shit award goes to Justin Herbert, who played like shit against the Houston Texans. He is supposed to be one of the next elite quarterbacks in the NFL, but I've been told elite quarterbacks in the NFL don't play bad games. This guy played like shit against the Houston Texans. I think Denver is considerably better than Houston in all phases. Give me the Broncos and the Broncos money line. Here come the Denver Broncos. There goes the LA Chargers.
Wow. The Denver Broncos, that would have both teams tied at 8-8, and that just race for the 7th spot in the AFC is just looks like it's crazy. I think the Chargers get a win here. Like I said, I think they're better than Denver and any team that Drew Lock has. The next matchup we have is the Buffalo Bills are hosting the Atlanta Falcons. This is a 14.5-point spread for the Bills. The over-under is 44. Jimmy, can Buffalo get enough? Can Buffalo do enough to win this by more than 2 touchdowns?
Like, it should be so easy to say yes. Like, it should be so easy. Just say yes.
Yeah, but Buffalo lost to Jacksonville.
Like, it's so, I I don't know. I'm taking Atlanta because 14.5 just seems like too many points for this Bills team who just doesn't seem motivated every week. They're always motivated in post-game interviews, but they don't always seem to be motivated during the game. So I'm going to take Atlanta. I think Buffalo will win, but 14.5 just seems like too much.
Is that 14.5 scaring you as well, Vince?
Absolutely, man. I get nervous at anything close to 10. I start itching, I get chills, and it's like there's just those when you get over 10, it just gets a little precarious. So I don't like that, man. I don't like that at all. So I'm staying away from that. I'm avoiding that thing right there. They're not consistent enough. And realistically, gentlemen, what team has been consistent in the NFL this year across the board? I can't think of too much there.
No,
everybody really hasn't been.
Yeah, even Kansas City had that month where they were just turning the ball over constantly. And Green Bay, they had the hiccup to start the season, but since then they've pretty much been the same. That's probably the most consistent team in the league this year. But even they had a
consistent
huge
but chaotic, right?
Yeah, I mean they lost to Minnesota a couple weeks ago. We'll get to them here in a minute, but yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take the under on that one, and I'm staying away from the Bills, man. No Bills for me on that one.
I'm gonna go with Atlanta too. I don't think Buffalo needs to do it. Like for what Buffalo is at their best when Allen runs the ball more. I don't think they're gonna have to do that against Atlanta, and they'll save it and still win. So I like Buffalo to win. I like Atlanta with the points, and I like the over in this game too. I think that's another trifecta I'll be looking at.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Up next, we have the New England Patriots are hosting the Jacksonville Jaguars. The spread is 15.5 points, and the over/under is 41.5. Which those two numbers shouldn't be together in a betting line.
No. No.
I'm going to damn the torpedoes, and I'll take New England because I think they can just run the ball, and whatever Belichick does against Lawrence will have them win by more than 2 touchdowns. Vince, am I a crazy person?
No. As much as my aversion for these double-digit freaking spreads, man, it's hard to go against that logic. 15, though.
And a half.
You're talking more than 2 touchdowns there, dude, and that's a lot, even in the NFL in 2021. I mean, that's. I guess for me, I'm gonna take it. I'm taking Jacksonville on this one. Yeah, it's crazy, it's goofy, but I'm gonna do that. And what was the over under on that?
41.5.
Yeah, man, I'm getting a little queasy over here. I don't know, dude. It's. No, I'm going to say under on that one too, because this is Bill Belichick, who's who got his tutelage from Bill Parcells, and they like to control the ball. So he's going to try to control the ball on this rookie quarterback as well as put him on his ass. So I'm thinking it's going to be an under.
Jimmy, do you think the Patriots are going to win here? Do you think they win by 15.5?
Well, Evan, hold on, Evan. So. Both the New England Patriots and the Buffalo Bills are 9-6. The money line bets for New England and Buffalo are both 100% for their teams. What I know about the NFL this year is one of these two teams is going to lose this game. And I feel like it would be peak 2021 for Trevor Lawrence to go into Foxborough and beat the Buffalo Bills.
Wow.
I'm going to take Jacksonville plus 16. I'm going to tease up a half point. I'm getting it at plus 16, and I'm betting the Jacksonville money line at plus 700.
Wow. That's a daring call there, pal.
It's one of those teams is going to lose. Either Buffalo or New England is losing. They're not both winning this week. There's no doubt in my mind.
I like the chaos bet. I'm a big fan of that. And actually, just to note, this line has actually moved up to 16 points from when I checked it yesterday.
Son of a bitch.
Tease it up to 17, Jimmy, or go 20. Why not?
That's hilarious.
Our next game is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers traveling to the Meadowlands to take on the New York Jets because the ghosts of Tom Brady just keep coming back to torture the Jets. Tampa Bay are 13-point favorites here.
God!
The over-under sits at 45.5. Brady needs this game to make a case for MVP. Vince, do you think he delivers here against the Jets once again?
I can't see the Jets defense unless I'm not understanding where the Jets defense is.
Yeah, even with all the wide receivers for Tampa hurt.
I just can't see them stopping him. He has him. There's the factor that he's in the discussions of greatest of all time. Even if you don't believe he should be there, he's there. And the New York Jets suck, man. They're just not a very good team. I mean, and they you know what? They look like the Browns looked 4 years ago.
Yeah, they're really bad.
So I'm just gonna have I'm scratching right now. You might not be able to hear it, but that double digit thing there makes me nervous. But I'm gonna go with the over here, and I'm gonna go with the New England New England with Tampa.
Yeah, I'm going with Tampa. I think Brady delivers here. Jimmy, are you in agreement?
Yeah, give me Tampa in the over. I think Tampa might score 45 by themselves. so yeah, I'll take the Bucs here, no problem.
Big game in the NFC playoff race, and for the number 1 seed, the Green Bay Packers are hosting the Minnesota Vikings. The Green Bay lost the first matchup in this earlier, just a few weeks ago. Minnesota won by a field goal. Green Bay find themselves 6.5-point favorites in this game. The over-under sits at 47.5. I like Green Bay here. I think they get revenge Sunday night. Jimmy, how does this game play out for you?
I think the Packers will find a way to win. I'd hate to use the words, like crooked pull or, maybe a little bit of fixing going on. But I think Roger Goodell's dick is so hard about having Aaron Rodgers play Tom Brady in an NFC Championship game that all the calls will continue to go the Packers' way. I do think the Vikings will keep it close, so I'm going to take the Vikings. I do think the Packers will win. I don't think they can beat them by a touchdown, though.
Vince, who do you like here?
Number one, I don't know if you just said this already. Who won a game earlier this season between the two?
Minnesota won 34-31.
And why was that? Do you remember?
I don't remember the specifics of that game.
I mean, because when Minnesota beats Aaron Rodgers, obviously this year, that's something to think about. And I'm not quite sure that Aaron Rodgers is as healthy as he would like to be. I think the second half yesterday or this past week with the game, I think is an indicator of that.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if you guys have ever had a bad toe. They fucking suck, man. It's probably the only thing worse than a bad toe is a broken rib, right? For pain. I never had a broken rib, but many people told me about it. But I know a bad toe is a bad toe, and that just doesn't, that's tough to come back, especially if you're a smart defensive lineman. You're going to step on that bitch as much as you can. So I'm thinking that's what they're going to do, and it's going to be close. So I'm going to take Minnesota here.
Yeah.
I'm going to take that chance on this one. I'm going to go with the under.
All right.
We are pro Minnesota Vikings on this podcast.
I am not pro
they
Minnesota
sure don't give
Vikings
us a lot of reason
because I think they're going to miss the playoffs and they're going to fire Zimmer. I think that's how the season plays out for them. I think they miss the playoffs. Zimmer gets fired and I don't know what they do next. They'll have to start over with a new coach.
They'll try to get Stefanski.
You ain't wrong.
Well, I said earlier in the year that if Zimmer got fired, he'd be a name to replace Joe Woods in the offseason if Joe Woods got fired, which isn't going to happen now. His defense has been pretty good.
Yeah.
Look, you can't blame Joe Woods for the last game. I mean, I've not been the Joe Woods' biggest backer. Okay, I've been pretty clear about, some of the things I don't like about the dude. But I don't necessarily have a problem with Joe Woods. I have a problem with the way they've tried to fit players into Joe Woods' freaking defense is my problem.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I think they've gotten better with that as the season's gone on.
Spot on right there, Vince.
So, yeah, Joe Woods is probably going to stick around. I mean, I don't know. Although, let's be clear, this is Cleveland. And somebody's freaking head's got to roll at the end of the year. Now, when it's baseball, like I've said before, it's usually the hitting instructor, the hitting coach. Oh, we're going to fire the hitting coach, and everybody's going to hit again. And they never freaking do. Or, we got to fire the quarterback's coach or the offensive coordinator. We're going to have ourselves a Super Bowl team. And it never freaking happens.
Yeah, for 20 years, all they did was fire people and replace them with people that weren't ready. And they just kept that cycle going. And now everybody just wants to keep doing it as if that worked. It didn't work then. It's not going to work moving forward.
Exactly. So leave them around for a little while. Let them grow, man. Let them nurture each other and become a team. You don't get to do that in the NFL of 2021, man. Everybody's got to leave on freaking big contracts.
Well, you can't develop continuity as an organization if you don't have continuity inside your organization. Like if everybody is changing, you can't have continuity. It just doesn't work that way.
You're right.
I know, this is mind-blowing stuff.
Science.
Our next matchup is the Dallas Cowboys, who are home with Mike McCarthy, who seems not very good at rocket science when it comes to game management, taking on the Arizona Cardinals, who have Cliff Kingsbury, who doesn't seem to ever want to win football games late in the season. The Dallas Cowboys are 5.5-point favorites. The over-under sits at 51.5. Vince, what do you think happens with these two teams that have at times looked as good as anyone and also as bad as anyone?
I think that the real Arizona Cardinals show up, like the real Slim Shady, if you will, and he's going to end up winning. And that's a pretty big number there to overcome for the over-under there. That you said 51?
Yeah, 51.5.
And where are they playing at?
They are in Dallas. Well, actually, they're in Fort Worth.
Now, hasn't Dallas has had a pretty damn good defense this year, haven't they?
Yeah, they've got a couple of guys that have been really good, including Minka Parsons.
I don't like that over. I'm taking the under on that one, man. I'm taking Arizona on the under on that.
Jimmy, what say you?
Well, Dallas doesn't really need this game. Arizona absolutely needs this game. I think these teams are pretty evenly matched. I think if you take Dallas out of the NFC East, I don't think they've looked as dominant as they have looked. I think when they've played other good teams, they haven't looked as good as when they play their division games. I think Cliff Kingsbury is a better head coach than Mike McCarthy, I guess. I think it's a pretty big toss-up.
Remember, better does not always equal good.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong there. Kyler Murray, like Tom Brady, still has an outside shot at MVP. I think he'll throw away from Diggs. They'll block Parsons, and I think the Cardinals will get a win here. So I like that Cardinals money line of plus 210 along with the plus 6 points.
I like Dallas here because I am just going to – Arizona fell apart towards the end of last season because Murray was banged up and not healthy, and I think that continues this year. So I like the Cowboys. I think they're going to stay in the mix for that number 1 seed. I don't think they get it, but I think they'll stay in the mix for it. Up next, we have San Francisco. The 49ers are hosting the Houston Texans, fresh off their big win over the Chargers. The Texans find themselves 12.5-point underdogs in this game. The over-under sits at 44. I like Houston to cover here. I think this game goes to the under. There was news that Jimmy Garoppolo has a couple of hand injuries. He's got something wrong with his ligament in his thumb. Not that that has ever meant he doesn't throw interceptions, but that definitely doesn't help. Jimmy, you've hated the 49ers all year. It looks like they're going to make the playoffs. Do the Texans put up a fight?
Yeah, so if Jimmy G's injured, that means JV quarterback Trey Lance has to play. I just watched the Texans defense.
Well, Jimmy G's going to play. He's just playing injured.
Well, is he going to play the whole game, though? I mean, I don't know. These reports really feel to me like this injury is worse than they're making out. I don't think it'll matter. I think the Texans will keep it close. I don't think they'll win, but I do think the Texans will keep it within 10 points. So I'll take the Texans with the 12.5.
How about you, Vince? What do you think happens here?
Oh, everything you said, Evan. I think Houston's going to win this, and it's going to be low scoring as far as however that goes. In reality, with the over/under and the spread, so I'm taking Houston, and I'm taking the under. And another reason why too is Houston, for some reason, I mean they played much better than people have expected them to play in many of these games, and I could say over the last 6, if you will.
Yeah.
And I don't think you can discount that.
The Davis Mills era.
With Garoppolo just not doing anything really spectacular, along with the fact that you're saying he's hurt, none of that's a good indicator.
Yeah, I think there's a very good chance that Lovie Smith might be working his way back up to being a head coach in the NFL, because that Texas defense, with a bunch of guys who look like creative players on Madden, are playing really well. So I give Lovie Smith credit for what he's done with that defense. And as much as I absolutely loathe what the San Francisco 49ers did in the draft by taking Trey Lance, Deebo Samuel is one of my favorite players in the NFL. I love watching that dude run a football, even if he is a wide receiver. I do enjoy watching Deebo play, but I don't think the 49ers are healthy enough to blow anybody out right now.
All right, up next we have the Philadelphia Eagles, who have been winning a lot of football games recently, taking on the Washington Armada, who have not been winning many football games recently. I pretty much put the kibosh on Washington when I said that they were going to make a race of the AFC East, which they clearly have not. The Eagles are 3.5-point favorites. The over-under sits at 44.5. I'll take Philly here because Washington is not a good football team. What do you think, Vince?
Well, I think Washington is definitely underperformed this year. If I'm going to compare the two teams as far as their roster goes, I'm more apt to pick in Washington. But the way that they've been playing and the injuries that they've incurred in some of their key positions over the season, whether it's with McLaren or with their running back Gibson, they've been injured at the wrong frickin' times. So I'm going to go with the momentum that Philly has. I think Washington is basically done for the season. They've given up. They're thinking about the beaches or the hookers or whatever. And I'm going to take the Philadelphia Eagles on this one. What was the over under on that?
44.5.
I'm apt to taking the under on that one. That's a little tricky. I've noticed as the season progresses and the weather changes, historically you have lower numbers, but it's NFL at 2021, man, and it's all freaking spread out, dude. So I'm going to take the under on that one though.
All right, Jimmy, who do you like in this one?
You can't pick a team that's throwing punches at each other on the sideline. So give me the Eagles.
That's a pro tip from the No Broken Legs podcast. Next up, we have the Seattle Seahawks hosting the Detroit Lions. The Seahawks are 7-point favorites. The over-under sits at 42.5. I'm taking Detroit. I don't know how Seattle can be favored by 7 points after they lost to Chicago. Jimmy, who do you like here? Are you still rolling with the Lions?
Yeah, I do, though. I think part of it is because of how poor Detroit played at the end of the game last week. They should have had a win, and they kicked field goals when they should have gone for it. So I think that's part of it, that Dan Campbell, great at motivational speaking, might not be a great head coach. I don't know. He's got some stuff to work on. But I'm going to take Detroit as well because I think Seattle's ready for this year to be over. I don't think there'll be a lot of fight in them. And one thing Dan Campbell has done is they've came out and fought every week. So I will take the Lions, but that's a game I don't want to watch any of for sure.
Yeah, Vince, you said Washington had already booked their trip to Cancun. Do you think Seattle has also booked their trips to Cancun?
Because of Pete Carroll, no. Because I'm not a big fan of his, dude. Let's be clear here. He's not my favorite coach. But the dude knows how to motivate people. They love him. You listen to players that have played for him, he's a freaking god, man. They'll do anything. They'll run through effing walls for that dude. So where is the game being played?
This is in Seattle.
Nah, I got to take Seattle here, man. I'm going to be the contrarian just because of that reason alone.
I like it.
And what's the over-under again?
42.5.
I don't know if I like the going over on that one either. I'm going to take the under on this one. Maybe I'm just a victim of my last decision, but I'm going to take it that one.
Well, we have 2 more games left to cover, and they're 2 games that I definitely don't want to watch any of. The New Orleans Saints are hosting the Carolina Panthers. The Saints are 7-point favorites. The over-under sits at 38.5. Neither one of these teams really has a quarterback. I think this game winds up being a field goal game because neither team can really get anything going. Vince, what do you think this happens here?
I think they all have stomach ailments and don't start, man. Something's going to happen there. I think I'm going to take the under, and just for the hell of it, because I like that they have Jazz, I'm going to take the New Orleans Saints.
That's as good a reason and as good of philosophy as you can have towards this game as I think it can happen. Jimmy, who do you like here?
Oh, this is a spite pick for me because I'm so pissed at how poor Carolina's season has gone. So give me New Orleans at the 6.5 and the under for sure.
All right. Up next, we have the Chicago Bears on the maybe not firing Matt Nagy tour. They are hosting the New York Giants. The Bears are 6-point favorites. The over-under is 37. Jimmy, do both of these teams have new coaches next year?
No, New York's already announced Judge and Daniel Jones are both coming back next year.
Yeah, I read that.
Oh, no.
Yeah, well,
no.
That's what
honey,
what they
no.
I don't know if it's actually going to happen, but it was in print. They put it in print. They put it in articles.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wouldn't bring them back, but they say they're both coming back next year.
That just sounds like a bad idea. Do you think the Bears do you think the Bears beat this Giants team, even though the Giants have all this? I don't know if it's good news that those guys are coming back.
Well, I still do not think Matt Nagy will be back next year, but I think the Bears defense can beat New York 7-0. So I'll take the Bears at -6.
What do you think happens here, Vince?
Well, is there another head coach in the NFL that gets more shit than that dude Nagy? I mean, am I forgetting another coach here that is more beat up on by the fans and the media?
No.
He's certainly like top 3 for sure.
And I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it, but I'm just, it's got to be, man, he's got to have either a good woman, he's got to have a good drink or something at home at night, that he's got to be able to push this stuff aside for what he's dealing with. I'm going to take Chicago here, and really I don't know why. Maybe I feel sorry for this bitch, man, Mr. Nagy. So I'm going to take him, and I don't think they're going to score a whole lot of much anything over there, so I'll take the under on that too.
Well, hey Vince, I don't know where you stand on the money equals happiness train, but Matt Nagy made $7 million to coach the Chicago Bears this year.
All right. Now, for me, money don't mean a damn thing, but it's real and it's there, and a lot of folks love it, and that could be a perfect reason why.
I like the Bears here. I think Matt Nagy continues to lure Chicago into thinking about keeping him, even though they should not. Beating crappy teams that are falling apart does not win you any points with me.
No, it does not.
So that's our Week 15 slate. Obviously, what we're really looking at are the 3 games in the AFC North: Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Kansas City, Cincy, Rams, Baltimore. We're all pretty positive that the Browns will survive and make it another week to stay in this hunt. What are your final thoughts here, Vince, before we wrap up?
I just want to go back over something you would know about. My pick for the season on the Browns was 10-7. I felt that they were going to have a letdown a little bit, and I felt that the rest of the league was going to catch up to them, although I did think that with the 10-7 record, they would get into the playoffs. Obviously, that can't happen now, but some of the things that I thought were going to happen have happened, and I still think that there's a chance, but, man, if it's the history of the factory of sadness, man, we're going to be looking at who we're going to be drafting by the end of Monday night.
Oh, man, I hope you're wrong. Jimmy, what are your final thoughts on the week?
I am so optimistic about the games before Monday night that it's scaring me so much. Like I said, and as much as we've hated having to see it, Ben Roethlisberger deserves credit where credit is due. He's been an amazing quarterback in this league. He has owned a really hard division at times. Baltimore, at times Cincinnati have been good over his run, and he has still rose above and been a very good quarterback. Off the field, maybe not so much. But on the field, Ben Roethlisberger has performed. Now, he's lost his mind these last few years. We've been very critical of his radio show. I have a problem with that, but what he's done as a quarterback is really impressive. But none of it will be as impressive as Baker Mayfield going into Ben's house and beating him in his last game there and then waving it. I hope he plants a goddamn flag when the game's over. Take a flag with your Baker, plant it right in that S, make a TikTok, and then beat Cincinnati the next week and go win the damn division.
I love the optimism. I love the optimism.
I do.
Well, that's going to wrap us up for today. Vince, thank you for joining us on this gray, gloomy Thursday.
Thank you very much.
Oh, guys, it's an honor for me to jump in here and talk with you guys. I'm always welcome to jump in there anytime you want my opinion. And don't forget, you can check me out, Vinnie's Midday Triple Shot Music, News, and Sports on krmaradio.com.
Yeah, every day, Monday through Friday, noon to 1. Check out Vinnie's Midday Triple Shot.
Yep, noonish to 1-ish.
All right. And Jimmy, thank you for joining us.
No place I'd rather be, brother.
All right, and we want to thank all of you for listening and wish you all a safe and happy New Year's weekend. For Jimmy Champ and Vince, I am Evan Belfiore, and we are no broken legs.
Every action has a repercussion. Lyrical bullets don't make me